up, my friends? Krash here. Welcome to another episode of the Krash podcast, or maybe you're watching our Facebook live in the Crash Course community, where you can see and participate in our Facebook live/podcast episodes with us. And if you did, you probably just heard me and Sin's 7-minute conversation about how to wear our hair around our headphones. Which, if you could see it, you would see that my hair right now just looks great, but Sin's looks way better. Like, you can't. I'm just gonna describe for all the podcast listeners, just so they know. I'm gonna take even more time on this. I'm so sorry. Sin doesn't even look like she's wearing headphones. She just looks like she has cute hair and this magical little microphone that's like coming out from her chin. I, however, look like a beast with giant headphones on over my really hot hair, and I'm just really jealous.
It's not true. It's not true. She is lying, in fact. She looks gorgeous.
But like, you can see like the huge headphones, whereas Sin just is like has magical hair. Anyways, what's up, you guys? Welcome. We're super excited to talk about blocker stability. I brought Sin on to talk about this because I don't know if y'all know, but her team is kicking a whole lot of ass right now. Shout out to Red Stick and all of the awesomeness that they're doing. So yeah, I wanted to bring her on to talk about blocker stability, because if you guys have seen any of the Red Stick games recently, their blockers are stable as fuck. And being the one of the many that are leading, or one of the few that are leading the charge on that team, I thought it would be good to bring you on. So why blocker stability? Like, why is this important? Why are we talking about blocker stability? What does it freaking matter? Sin, why does it matter?
Well, a stable blocker is a blocker that remains in play, a blocker that is functional, and a blocker that is able to do their job. If you are not stable, more than likely you're going to be off the track or on the ground, therefore making you an obstacle and not a functioning member of your pack.
Hashtag don't be an obstacle. Man, that's the worst, right? When you are not stable on your skates and you fall, and then like your jammer trips over you, and you're like, wow, not only did I not stop the other jammer, but I also just sabotaged my own.
Yep. Or bringing down the entire pack with you.
So great. It's like one of the best parts about watching like newbie roller derby. I love it because everybody's so stoked, but then it's just like
dog piles.
So great. So yeah, we want to be stable because we can stay in play, we can be more effective, we are also being safer. You know, we're preventing less injuries for ourselves, we're preventing causing injuries to other people. It's really, really important to be a stable blocker on the track, whether you are a advanced skater and you're thinking about it more from a strategy standpoint, or whether you're a newer skater and you're just thinking of it as like, hey, I want to be able to like be a safe skater. And I think a lot of skaters get frustrated when they can't move up because they're not quite safe enough.
Yeah.
And I think that this is a big piece of this. So Sin is going to bring us her top 5 tips for blocker stability, how to be a stable blocker, how to be more effective as a stable blocker. What do we got? What's number 1?
Okay, so number 1 is having a strong base. A strong base is your foundation. This helps you establish a solid foundation as a blocker and improves your overall stability. So what is a strong base, right? We take you through in Derby 101 or your fresh meat groups, whatever you're calling them, and we show you how to stand, getting into derby stands, but we're talking definitely specifically the lower body. It's wide, it's balanced, where your feet are about shoulder width apart. They're either in line or staggered, depending on your position where you are. And this is your first step to overall stability. Where are you leaning? Your strong base means where's your weight? Are you leaning forward into your toes? Are you leaning too far back into your heels? Or is your weight divided evenly throughout each part of your skate? It's really important to become intimately acquainted with where your feet are inside your skates to develop a strong base, learning where your toes are, learning where your heels are, learning where your inside edges are and your outside edges are, right? So we can learn how to center our weight.
Right.
Anything to add to that?
Yeah. Yeah, it's not just about having your feet, like having a strong base isn't just about being able to have both feet on the ground either.
Yeah.
Sometimes we think that having a strong base is like having these two legs on the ground.
Yeah.
But actually, like what I'm thinking about when I think strong base is I'm thinking about how well can you zip up your middle, zip up your core, zip up your yoga mula bandha. We might have been doing some single foot stuff today in yoga.
Nice.
But like how can you zip up your core so that you can be stable even on one foot? If you have to pick a foot up, how can you still be a stable blocker? So it's about having that wide base and then also having that ability to move your feet around at the same time.
Yes. Like once you know sort of the anatomy of your base, of your body, of where your feet are, then you become familiar with it and you can start to manipulate it. And your strong base remains strong, whether you're on 8 wheels or 4 or 2
or like a
one.
toe stop on
Yeah.
the line.
Right?
Single toe stop on the line, having just hit someone out, is still
Exactly.
blocker stability.
So you think it goes from the ground up, right? Feet, calves, legs, hamstrings, quads, your hips into that core, zipping up, as Chrissy says. Right? So how do we train it? Right? This is the why, this is the how, right? Like how do we train it? Train balance, right? Chrissy mentioned yoga. I need you to understand how important yoga is to Derby. I wish someone had told me in the year 2010 that this was important.
Yeah, for recovery, for balance, for everything. I mean, single leg anything, honestly, is so important because the ability to, number one, maintain stability and balance on one leg, but it allows you to just move quicker because you're not reliant on having to be on 2 feet. So it's weird that like having a strong, stable 2-footed base, some of the foundation of that is actually having the core stability to have a single foot that's balanced.
Yes, absolutely. So train your balance, train foundational balance, train it some more, and keep training it even when you think you've got it.
Yeah.
Okay, 14 years in, you should still be revisiting your balance foundations routinely.
Yeah, because if you don't train it, I mean, it's if you don't use it, you lose it. You know what I mean? It's like we talk about this at the end of KCAT all the time. Like when I'm doing like 12-week coaching, I just had one of these today where it's like, look, just because you did a thing for 12 weeks doesn't mean you're like saved. It's not like this isn't like, all right, this is magically it. I never have to do a push up or eat a salad again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with Derby. It's like you train the things that are important. And if being a stable blocker is important, it's something that's continually added into your training on a regular basis.
Yep.
Yeah. What's your second one?
All right. Second one, low center of gravity. Everyone knows this one. It's Derby stance. So what does it mean?
That was my cat noise for Derby stance. As someone who's 6'1" and everyone's like, you're not low enough. And I'm like, fuck you, I'm not 5'2".
Okay, this is actually a really important concept though, right? Because we're all different body types, we're all different heights. Chrissy is 6'1". I'm a whopping 5'4". Okay, our Derby stances are fundamentally going to look different. Okay, but here's the basics of this. Your low center of gravity is your Derby stance. Being able to lower your center of gravity, which means you do not play Derby standing straight up. It doesn't happen whether you're 6'1" or 5'4" or 5'2". Okay, you're still not straight up. You're not going to get the power you need. You're not going to get the stability you need. Okay, so how do we work on this?
As a taller skater, I just like to input, if you are too low, you are not going to have your power. You are not going to have any of that. If you're as a tall skater, if everyone's telling you to get too low so you can be the same height as your 5'4" buddy, you're actually going to be in a position where it's too hard for you to move laterally, where there's not a lot you can do because you've squished your spring too low. So you want to find that magic point. I call it being an athletic stance. Like athletic stance is the general fundamentals of how you would stand when you're about to do anything athletically, which is like in like a I don't know, maybe like a 1/3 squat position. So you're like ready. You look like your face looks like you have a way that you really
yes. Okay, so
you guys should see Sid's face.
I'm like, this is something we recently did in our one-on-one group, okay? And this is something that has really helped me as a trainer be able to train people that are taller than me. You know, because I am short and it does come naturally to me to be able to train short people, but it's also an important thing to be able, especially trainers, if you are looking at the different players in your league, your language and how you train them is so important. Okay. when we're teaching derby stance to every body type, okay? Bend your knees. This is how we lower our center of gravity. Bend your knees. Are your knees locked out or are they soft? Okay. This lowers your body's point of balance, making it harder for opponents to knock you off balance, which, as Chrissy and I just explained, can look different for taller people and shorter people.
Yep.
The general rule is, are you low enough that you are able to touch your knee pads? Generally speaking, this works for all statures because our knee pads are on our knees and our knees are going to be in different places, right? Height speaking. So
I have to like stand up. I'm like, can I touch my knees standing up? I cannot touch my knees. However, if I drop into athletic stance,
this is about what Chrissy is talking about with that 1/3 squat. This is a really easy visualization when we're geared up and on the track. Are you low enough to touch your knee pads? Okay.
So smart.
So the low center of gravity is something we want to train from the get-go because it really takes time for this to become a muscle memory. This is something that is difficult for new players to get a grip on because our lower back starts to hurt. Like, this is a place that gets sore when you are in a 1/3 squat for a long period of time. So it needs to be done. You just need to drop into that athletic stance, that derby stance, touch your knee pads over and over and over again. This is where we start to see or hear the language of drop lower. Because if you can exaggerate your athletic stance, your default muscle memory will be a little bit lower. Okay. We're going to pop up a little bit, but we might not pop all the way up. Okay. A more advanced tool for lowering the center of gravity is timing the drop. So when you really work on lowering your center of gravity, you can then manipulate it. Just like your strong base, you're not always going to be on 2 skates, right? We're moving, we're in motion. And we're going to talk about this a little bit more too, but blockers don't block standing still. We always need to be moving. It's not just the jammer time, okay? So when you learn about lowering your center of gravity, you can learn how to use it against opposing players. And that is what we call timing the drop. It means lowering your center of gravity at a specific point in time to absorb, use, and redirect impact. Okay. It's also called sometimes the art of the counter block. Okay. Yep. So I'll leave that with you guys.
Yeah, this is something that, like, this low center of gravity and getting yourself into this derby position, like, I'm thinking about how many skaters I see that are in like the triangle, right? And they've got their arms straight out, and I'll just describe it for you, for those of you guys that are watching. They've got their arms straight out and their legs are straight.
Oh yeah.
And so you're bending at the hip, like you're pivoting your body forward and you're trying to like block like this. And it allows you like no room to be able to step, because if you look, even to take a step from this straight legged leaning forward position, to even take a step, I have to bend my knee and get into derby position to even move. I don't know why I have this like chair in the way. Like,
I know, move the chair. You don't need to sit down.
If you guys are listening to the podcast, you really should get into the KCC group so you can watch this stuff, because it'd probably be a lot easier if you could visualize it. But like if I'm straight legged and I'm here and I'm blocking with my friend, if I want to move, I have to get into derby position to move. Whereas if I just stay here and I have that bend at the hips, I have the bend at the knees, I can touch my knee pads, my chest is up, and I'm in a triangle. Now it's very easy for me to move side to side without having to like prep back into that derby position.
Yeah.
And it does. I remember when I first started playing derby, man, my back and my calves hurt so bad. But like the more that you do it, and then the more that you cross train, the more that you stay low, your body starts to get this stuff.
Yeah. And again, this is very specific. We are building from the ground up. So what Chrissy just demonstrated, right, is not just lowering the center of gravity, but also a strong base. When we're leaning that far forward, does our base have integrity? Is our base strong? No, our base is behind us. We're not able to use it. So when we visualize this, when we begin to work on it, we go feet, thighs, butt, core, chest, arms.
Yep.
all the way up from the ground, zipping all the way up, strong base directly under our tabletop, our foundation, derby stance, lowering our center of gravity. And then we move into the core strength, which honestly is number 3 of our 5 tips. So we'll talk about that for a second, right? Core strength. Our core is our stability. A strong core is the source. It provides stability and improves your ability to absorb and deliver hits without losing balance or momentum, right? Because again, blockers block. And it's not just about staying on your feet. It's about staying on your feet, moving on your feet, and being able to take some violence on your feet.
Yeah. Well, and just to like clarify too, like core strength, sometimes I think people think core strength is your abs.
Yeah,
like
right.
Abs are core strength if I do so. But the thing is you have to understand that your core starts all the way down right above your knees at your adductors, the inner thighs. The inner thighs are a huge part of roller derby core. When I'm thinking of roller derby core, I'm thinking about the strength of the inner thighs and then how that connects with being able to zip up that lower part of my core. How does that connect with being able to have a very healthy, strong low back so that I'm not getting knocked out of position? It's not just what's going on in your belly, it's how everything from that like corset up into like your lats, like into your back, is tightening all together. And it's interesting because this is something that I've been working on, because I don't know if you guys know this, but when you think about your core, your body is like connected diagonally. So if you are someone who is struggling with like tightness or things in like your left hip or like your left lower back, you want to be paying attention to, do you have any kind of like a imbalance up in like your lats or your shoulders on the opposing side? So understanding that like we have to strengthen not just straight up the middle, but we need to be strengthening across the body as well.
Yep, absolutely. How do we do that? How do we train the core? I'm using air quotes here for anyone who's not watching, right? We can do this with very, very simple movements, right? You don't have to use rocket science here. Planks, squats, lunges. And I would also emphasize with the lunges to do them in multiple directions. Do forward lunges, reverse lunges, lateral lunges, cross body or curtsy lunges, things that are really working all of those muscles, right? Not just one set of muscles on one side of your body.
Okay. Also things like deadlifts, multi-joint movements like squat presses. These are all things that are forcing us to engage all of the different pieces of that core.
Yep. And you're going to love this one, Chrissy. Another thing that I think gets taken for granted or really doesn't get enough attention is breath training.
Yeah.
Breath training. And you see this a lot in yoga. I know I do this with all of my group calls. We do a very short session in the beginning of every group call where we do some guided box breathing, but really working on your diaphragm and how you're moving breath through your body strengthens your core all throughout your body. This will also help you, by the way, with your stamina and your endurance as a blocker on the track when you work on your breathing. This is coming from an asthmatic person who excels in stamina and endurance. It can be done.
It can be done. Let it be known. It can be done.
All
right. What's number 4?
Number 4 is footwork and agility. Remember when I said that blockers don't block standing still? We have to train our footwork and agility as much as jammers. Okay. When we block standing still, this is illegal. We always need to be moving in some way on the track, right? Training footwork and agility allows us to do that while we are blocking. So we've worked from the ground up on our strong base, on our derby stance, on our core. Now we have to be able to use those things in motion. Okay. So working on our footwork and agility will help you adjust your position quickly and maintain stability while blocking and controlling where people go on the track, because that's what we want, right? We want to move offensive players out of the way, get them out of the way, move walls out of the way for our jammers. We also want to move jammers off the track, not in front of us. But yeah, like this will help you catch jammers while you're transitioning from forward to backward skating, right? doing little cool spin maneuvers. It's not just for jammers.
Yep.
Things like that. Can you track a jammer from the back of the pack to the front of the pack, from the inside to the outside, and execute a block and execute a hold? Can you catch a jammer? Can you do a very quick stop to steal their momentum without allowing their force to knock you off balance or down?
Yep.
All of this comes from combining all of our stability training with our stance and our base with footwork and agility.
And making friends with your edges.
Mm-hmm.
Like so much of edge work is so in line with everything core strength related and stability related, because it's that same thing. It's being able to, like you said, be very acquainted with every part of your skate, how your foot works in your skate, how you need to have your skate when you're receiving a block, when you're giving a block. Yeah, it all ties so much into this.
Yeah. So practicing footwork and agility drills on skates and off skates, right? This will enhance your balance and your reaction time. The agility ladder is your best friend. Again, off skates and on skates. I love agility ladder patterns. I love the classics. I love the more creative ones where you're flipping your hip around and you're doing little crossovers throughout the ladders. This isn't just for basics. This isn't just for 101. I do agility ladder training 3 times a week minimum. We incorporate ladder training in the off skates training of a lot of our practices. This is a fantastic way to train footwork and agility. Just the end.
Yeah. I love me some agility ladders, man. There was a point where it was something I really committed to working on, and I spent a solid 12 weeks on agility. And I remember the day at practice where it started to kick in, and I like did something with my feet and got around someone and was like, holy shit,
Yep.
where did that come from? But it came from systematically doing ladders. Like I wasn't just doing them one day because I randomly saw them on Pinterest and then never doing them again for like another month.
Right.
Like you really need to, if you're going to get better at agility, it's something that needs to be programmed into your programming on a regular basis. I would say it's probably one of the number one things that I think jammers come to us for, because it's like, yeah, you can do a bunch of like squats and like whatever, but like I think it's, for whatever reason, it's very, very hard for jammers to focus on agility. And it's just, sometimes it's just easier to have someone else program that stuff for you, because you're wondering, like, well, what am I doing? Is this actually going to work? Then you do it only 2 times. You don't do it long enough for it to work. And then it just feels like it doesn't work, but it's really because you didn't work. So sometimes, like, having someone to program some of that stuff in, which, by the way, I'm going to do a shameless plug for our brand new coach on our team, Slayance, who I am so excited about, you guys. Not only is she an incredible skater, but she's been a personal trainer for over 14 years. She knows so much about speed, strength, and agility. We are so freaking excited to have her. So for those of you guys that end up joining the program here in end of 2023, end of 2024, you will be in for a serious treat on some awesome customized workouts. Just throwing that out there. Slay, we love you.
We're so pumped about it. Oh my goodness.
We love you.
We love you.
All right, let's bring us into our last one.
Yeah. So we were on footwork and agility. The 5th one sort of ties it all together, right? Mental focus. And this is an interesting one because it's a little bit less tangible. It's our mindset as blockers. Staying mentally focused on the game and your role as a blocker. This is going to help you anticipate opponents' moves, react effectively, and maintain stability during intense gameplay, right? We have to train our mental focus, because if we freak out, guess what? The first thing we do is we're standing up, we're slowing down, right? Our body is no longer on the same page as our brain. We're less likely to be able to absorb impact or be able to execute our jobs, okay?
Yeah, and I think about this also from a standpoint of like being a mentally stable blocker. Like if you are a blocker that's on the track and you're losing your shit at your teammates, or you're freaking out because your team is in a penalty spiral, or the other jammer is just scoring like lap after lap after lap, like if you can't stay mentally stable, it doesn't matter what's going on with your body. And so being able to bring yourself back to a space of calm, of breath, of, okay, what do we need to do in this moment to stop the bleeding? What do we need to do right now to protect our jammer so she doesn't go back to the box for like the 3rd time in the last 2 jams, so we can like get her out and get a new jammer in?
Yeah.
Like really like being a mentally stable jammer is about being able to stay calm and communicate effectively even when the shit's hitting the storm.
Yes,
Shit's hitting the
absolutely.
storm, is that a
No, shit's hitting
shit's
the
hitting the
fan.
fan?
It's a shit storm. That's what we were
Shit
going with.
storm. I'm gonna use that from now on. The shit's
Shit's hitting
hitting
in
the
the storm.
storm.
I kind
Yeah,
of like that though. Like if you think
it
in terms
sounds,
of a hurricane.
yeah, it made sense though. Like when I said it, did you question it
Yeah,
when I
no, I
said
didn't question it at all until you questioned it. It just made total sense to me. No, but this is really important, right? Because shameless plug to Red Stick, we've come such a long way in our track, in our history, and our progress.
Yeah,
But
so cool.
we historically are a very small team, and I mean small in number and small in height. I at 5'4", I'm one of I well before my teammate Pop Tart, hi Nina. Before them, I am one of the tallest people at 5'4" on the team. So we've had to learn mental fortitude coming up against players, teams where we are playing with 10, 11 people against full rosters of 15, 16, right? Who are all averaging at Chrissy's height. It can be very intimidating. And then add to that, we have had games. We had a game once a while back where I kid you not, it felt like we were beginning every other jam with our jammer in the box and two blockers in the box. For whatever reason, we kept having penalty spirals. We won that game by 150 points.
Yeah.
How do you do that? Mental focus. You do not lose your shit. You talk to your teammates. When you are in the box, it's not just the people on the track, it's the people in the box. Mm-hmm. You are focused mentally. You are digging deep for that strength and that fortitude and what you need to do with your role on the track. Okay. So how do we work on that? How do we train that? So physically speaking, I like to do combination movements. I like to do more than one thing. This helps me with mental focus. It helps me stay engaged on a physical training session. It helps me learn how to switch between jobs and switch between tasks, right? Because as blockers, we are oftentimes quickly playing offense and defense almost simultaneously. We are doing more than one thing in very quick succession. So combination movements like squat jumps into forward lunges or agility ladder patterns into a broad jump or a box jump, things like that. Using drills and movements that have you going in different directions very quickly helps not just with our physical training, with our footwork and agility, but our mental training on being able to switch focus from direction to direction, from thing to thing.
Yep. 100%. And focusing on communication too. We actually just did, I believe, was that last week? God, the weeks, it was either last week or 7 years ago. I don't know. But I did a Facebook Live and a podcast on communication and the ways that you can build and exercise
Mm-hmm.
and strengthen your communication on the track so that you are not losing your shit. I also find that visualization is a good one because if you can practice visualization when the shit's not hitting the fan, visualization is essentially using your imagination for good instead of evil.
Mm-hmm.
For imagining the best case scenario instead of the worst case scenario. And so if you can get in the habit of doing that like before games, then even during games, the only reason you freak out is because you're imagining this scenario where the shit's gonna hit the storm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so if you in those moments can pause and go, okay, what is the best case scenario? What do we need to make happen versus, oh my God, this is what's happening. We're going to lose. Like practicing those moments of imagining in the proper direction, imagining the positive things so you can
Mm-hmm.
start working towards it as a team.
Yeah. And here's the key for that, right? And here is my soapbox, Chrissy. I keep saying it. The mind learns through experience, both real and imagined. Your visualization practice is training. You are training your brain to receive those images, to receive those experiences. So by the time you're in it in reality, your brain thinks that you've already done it.
Yep.
So it's no longer new, which means it's no longer scary, whichever way it goes. And by training the positive outcomes, even when you're in the outcomes that are not ideal, you are thinking of it in terms of the positive is still coming. I can do this. That's still happening. That's still my future. That's still my reality. I'm just kind of in this space right now that I am now dealing with.
Yep. 100%. 100%. So,
Yeah.
just to wrap things up here, my friends, I think that it's just important to remember that stability in derby comes from practice and experience. You know, incorporating the stuff that we're talking about today into your training routine, it can really go a long way just in terms of like improving your overall stability as a blocker. But if you do need help, you know, this is what we do. We
Yep.
turn average skaters into MVPs. So if you want any support with this stuff, you can click the link in the show notes, or if you're watching this on Facebook Live, you can just message me. We would love to support you, but we will continue to be bringing you guys into 2024 through the 2023 off season new good stuff, training tips, mindset work, all the things that you need to become an amazing skater, because we really believe that, you know, life is a contact sport and she who touches the most lives wins, and this is our way of helping elevate this sport and make you better, help you have more fun, most importantly, so that derby can be around forever because we kind of love it.
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining us. If you love this, please share it with your team, share it with your league, post it on social media, tag us, let us know that you were here joining us, and we will catch you guys in the next episode. Bye.